Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. I have got questions for you. What opens with a new neighborhood descending on Issa's old neighborhood, and what closes with Issa descending on an old new bay neighborhood? If you guessed Insecure, season 2, episode 8, hella perspective. That's the season finale, y'all. Then you're correct. I'm Angela. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and sticking with me as we go from opening to closing in this episode. So before we talked about the opening and the closing. Okay, so the baby girl is growing up. The children, not just baby girl, but all the children are growing up. We got all kinds of signs of growth. It's been a rough season, but we making some progress. Or are we? Okay. So we see Issa in her neighborhood, and gentrification is here. Inglewood has become I would. I wish a neighborhood would. Okay, so then we see Lawrence. This is 30 days with Lawrence. So the way that this episode is set up is we get 30 days with Lawrence, 30 days with Issa, and then before that we got 30 days with Molly, and then we have a little montage at the end. Okay, so we are 30 days with Lawrence, 30 days, a month. This is basically after the dinner party for Tiffany's husband, Derek. So Lawrence is in the marathon. He's running with his work team, and they kind of chilling or whatever. And then Lawrence sees Issa and Molly on the sidelines, and it leads to a burst of energy because he's trying to run away from his past. Then we see Lawrence with Aparna at his place. He's cooking with her, and they are a certified couple, it looks like. And Lawrence is reflecting on how good it felt to be, leading stuff again at the marathon 3 days ago. And he also says, speaking of leading stuff, I'm thinking that it's time for me to start working on developing something again. And Aparna is like, yeah, well, maybe you should get with this other project, and so you could see what you would do different on your own project, on your own thing. And then they sexed in the kitchen. We see Larry and Aparna at dinner, and Aparna is like, it's crazy that you would get speakers before you get a couch. And they're kind of joking about that or talking about that. And then she asked him how his work project is going, or his new, thing he's doing at work. And she says that she's, hearing good things from Colin. And Larry is like, oh, you hearing things now? Well, what else you hearing from Colin? And Aparna is like, don't do that. Just because we had sex doesn't make us close. And Larry is like, oh, you had sex? Okay, he trying to be cool. He like, well, sex is literally the closest that you can get to somebody. And Aparna is like, nah, not to me. We were drunk every single time that we did it. And he was just there, really. And as she's like, every single time, it's kind of like Lawrence is like, okay, so it wasn't just one time, it was more than one time. And she's like, it was just like, he was just there, really. Like, I was having sex with him, but I was drunk and he was just there, really. And Larry is like, well, you had to like something about him, right? And Aparna is like, he's smart and he's funny as hell, but that's it. And then she like, oh, you jealous? And Larry is like, nah, you cool with it? I'm cool with it. And then he spots Molly in the restaurant. Then we see Lawrence at work, and he is watching Colin and Aparna. They like up at the front of the room, and they kind of chit-chatting. She laughing at all his jokes, or I don't know if she laughing at all his jokes, but she looked like she having a good time. Then we see Lawrence at his place with Derek and Chad, and they're helping him to install his flat screen. Then Larry, okay, got this TV in, let's watch a game. And then one of the fellas is like, well, what's up with the Due North finale? And then it kind of comes out in the conversation that when they talk about due north, that Tiffany is watching the finale at Issa's, and it's kind of like an awkward moment. And then Chad is like, well, how's the new chick? And Larry is like, it's cool. I got to work with her ex, though. She says she's not checking for him, but she always be all up in his face laughing at his stupid jokes. And Chad is like, oh, no, you can't let that happen again. And Derek is like, well, Tiffany had this dude at her workplace, but I dealt with him. And then Chad is like, right, women don't need no extra dudes around as friends. That's just peen with no purpose. Handle that. That's what he's saying to Larry. Then we see Lawrence and Aparna in traffic. And Lawrence is kind of chit-chatting with her. It's like they stuck in a traffic jam. And Aparna is distracted on her phone. She laughing at her phone and smiling and texting. And Lawrence is like, ha, ha, ha. So is Colin that funny? And Aparna is like, what? This is my niece. My sister texted me that my niece did something cute. Why are you bringing up Colin again? And then Larry is like, y'all just seem to be extra close. Just be honest with me. I don't want to be out here looking stupid. And then Aparna is like, you are making you look stupid. This is your stuff. And then Lawrence is like, I don't have stuff. I just don't like liars. And Aparna is like, wow. Pull over. Yes, it is that serious. I'm not doing this again. And then Issa calls and she's like, there's your pile of stuff right there. That's your stuff. I'm out of here. Peace out. And so Molly is gone. I'm not Molly. What's the child's name? Aparna. Then we see a Lawrence arriving at the dunes. He goes up the stairs. He goes to Issa's door and then he goes in. And then we switch over to 30 days with Molly. She's back. We're back at the marathon. We see her and Issa on the sidelines, and we find out that Quentin, that's the Chicago lawyer colleague, is coming to LA in 2 weeks. And Molly is like, I'm keeping it super cash. I like him, but he's not my type. Lee Issa's like, let me see his picture. She look at the picture. She's like, oh, okay, he got a beard. She don't really say much. And then Tiffany and Derek show up and we get a text. Somebody get a text that Kelly is at the finish line. Oh, Issa gets a text that Kelly is at the finish line. And then Molly is like, dang, that girl got Kenyan in her. One time I volunteered. My mother's husband was at a marathon. And so I volunteered for the marathon. So I was like the cheerleader. I was like, there are certain points in marathons where people lose their energy. So I was like at mile 24. And so at mile 24, it was kind of like for a long time, nobody was there. And then all of a sudden, the Kenyans came, or the East Africans or whatever. And they were just, strolling by like, hey, what's up? I was like, yay, you're doing good. You're almost there. Keep going. Yay. They just strolling. And it was really interesting to see people coming across that point because they were strolling like they had just walked, 2.6 minutes. And it was some people who came over that line. They were like, not over the line because I was like at mile 24. And they was like, you like, keep going. You can make it. And it's kind of like, oh, Lord, can they make it? I'm like, yes, you almost there. And they like, oh. And then, some people that come and they be, but, it was nice to see those. I think they were Kenyans. They just, and then it was like a big gap too. It's like, you waiting and waiting and waiting. And then the Kenyans come. It's like one, East African, another East African. You wait a couple minutes, few minutes, another East African. You wait 5-10 more minutes, another East African. Then 20, 30, 40 minutes later, everybody else start coming over, coming over that point. Okay. So, yeah, dang, that girl got Kenyan in her. So we see Molly in a meeting. It's an interview. It seems to be a black-led firm because all the people that she's talking with are black. And they were, one of the women or whatever, one of the people was like, you were great on paper, but you are better in person. Like they really feeling her. Then the next thing we see is Molly at dinner with Quentin. And he's like, okay, so they made an offer. So it's like the black folks made an offer. And Molly is like, yep, I got it 3 days ago. I'm going to take some more interviews, get a few more offers. And then Quentin is like, yeah, and take it to the partners. I see you, Molly. Let them know you can go any place you want to. And Molly is like, hopefully they will wake up and bring something to the table. And Quentin is like, cut that check. And Molly and Quentin are vibing and laughing and all of this stuff. And then the waitress show up. She like, oh, you want the check? And Q is like, huh? We ain't even ordered yet. Then we see Molly spotting Lawrence and Aparna. And this is the dinner where we're seeing her spotting them, but they were having, this is the dinner where Lawrence learned that Aparna had been with Colin several times when she was drinking. And then Quentin is like, you okay? And Molly is like, oh no, I just saw somebody that I used to know. And Quentin is like, of course guys are checking for you. You the most beautiful woman in here. And thank you, thank you for taking me out. He's like, thank you for taking me out. Next week when you in Chicago, I'm going to take you out. And Molly is like, yeah, I got to eat. Always got to eat, homie. And then we see Molly in therapy and her back in therapy. Yay, Molly. And her therapist like, homie is not a great place to start. And why do you just see him as a friend? And Molly is like, blah, 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 blah. Should. Oh, should. And the therapist is like, yeah, get out of the should and live in the could. Could you see him as something else? And Molly is like, I could see him as something else. And the therapist is like, welcome back, Molly. So we'll see you next week. And then Molly go to look at her phone and she got a text from Dro. He talking about, I miss you. And then we see Molly at Q's place. They're at Q's place and they're working. They take a break. They get a drink. They're talking about families. And then Molly make a move on Q. So they had sex on the couch. She decided to live in the could, I guess. Could she see this guy? So she trying to see. Then we see Molly with Issa and Kelly at Issa's, I guess. And Molly was not into Quentin sexually, she has found out. But she's trying to rationalize her way to being into him. But she wasn't feeling him sexually. And Molly is like, he's so supportive, Q, is especially, with this work stuff. And Tiffany is like, so what you gonna do about work? You gonna stay with the whites or go with the blacks? And then Molly is like, I put in a lot of time with the whites. It seems like the blacks know me already, though. And Issa is like, go black, be valued. And Kelly is like black people, they get too comfortable with you. They be trying to all in your business, inviting you to church, trying to baptize you. And Issa's like, oh, dang, well, maybe white is right then. And Kelly is like, but then when you with the white people, you got to make them feel comfortable. And you got to explain your hair and your clothes and your food to them. And Kelly is like, oh, it's Tiffany. She get a call or whatever. And she's like, she can't make the due north viewing party. I'll call her. And then it's just Issa and Molly. And Issa is like, Molly, you can be a lawyer anywhere. Girl, follow the money. And Molly is like, that's what Q said. Okay, so then we see Molly back at the negotiation table with the 3 white men. And one is kind of brownish, huh? But anyway, and they're like, the community is small. And we know that you have been meeting with other firms. And we hear you and we value you. And we don't want to lose you. And so what we are offering you, and we think, okay, I'm thinking Molly about to get that offer. What we are offering you, and they slide a folder across the table, is our Rising Star Award. And as soon as they said that, I'm like, this is some bull. And Molly opened the folder like, well, what is it? And it's a Rising Star Award. It's like a certificate that she could frame and put on her wall. And they let her know she'll be featured. Her photo will be featured prominently on the website. And Molly and me and probably all of the rest of y'all are like, nah. Heck to the no. To the no, no, no. Then we see Molly. She's all poised coito. We don't know who she been coiting with, though. And she seems happy. She like, boy, you play too much. And then we see a phone ringing. Issa's calling. And she's like, oh, shoot, what happened? So what this does is this sets up a thing for us once we Yeah, we'll loop back. We need to loop back to this. Okay, so then we got 30 Days with Issa, and we're back at the marathon. Derek, Tiff, Issa, and Molly are looking for Kelly at the finish line because she had texted and said she was at the finish line with her Kenyan behind. And then we see that she in the medical tent. Oh my gosh, what happened? Before they were like, Kelly said she we can't. I remember earlier Kelly had said, well, you know, they had said, Kelly said, you can't miss me because I'm in all white. She in the medical tent, and she done got her period at mile 9. So we find out that Kelly is Auntie Kelly, and she been knowing that Tiffany is pregnant. Issa spots Lawrence celebrating at the finish line with his work crew. And he and Aparna are clearly together. Aparna all jumping up on him and hugging him. And, you know, and the woman, Tiffany, is like, everybody making moves. We doing stuff. We out here getting it done. And she'd go through everybody's name. And then she come to Issa, and she like, and Issa, and Issa's like, I'm moving. So we find out that Issa's moving. Then we see Issa, Frida, and the boss lady, and we got y'all. They having a weekend session. And the boss lady basically finds out that Issa has not kept her in the loop and has not requested help and gave her information that she needed. The boss needed to help Issa to do her job. So the boss is finding out that these extra off-campus sessions for We Got Y'all that Issa and Frida are doing are legal liabilities. They doing segregated sessions because the administration, the Vice Principal Gaines in particular, has been excluding the Latinx students. So her homegirl, her boss is like, you know, you're going to have to, we're going to keep you out of the field while we reevaluate what's going on because you ain't handled this situation right. And then we back at the Due North party with Kelly and Molly and Issa. And Kelly is like, see, you mind your business, you get free, talking about something on Due North. And y'all heard that we can actually see a whole episode of Due North. I think somebody said a whole season, but surely they don't have a whole season. But a episode, maybe they have like a YouTube type season. But anyway, and then keep moving. I gotta hurry up. I only got a few minutes. Then okay, so Molly gets a text, and now that Due North is over, Issa is like, you know, help me pack. And Kelly is like, you need a roommate. You know, you are moneyless. You ain't got no money. You broke. And Kelly is like, you know, you can't afford to live alone. And Issa's like, I want to live alone. I can afford to live alone. And Kelly is like, well, maybe way out. And Molly is like, well, maybe if you sell some stuff. And then we back at We Got Y'all, and Frida gets the promotion to the director of outreach or whatever. And Issa is the only one who feels that Frida deserves, you know, she's clapping for her and nobody else is really excited or whatever. And then Issa's like, well, you know, I want to take you out for drinks, and, you know, and they decide, you know, and Frida's like, oh, okay, right now, oh, we should go to I Would. And then Issa's like, and the girl, Frida's like, I won't say I would anymore. And then we see Issa at her yard sale. Her brother is helping. We find out that Issa is moving in with her brother. Neighbor Bay comes up. You know, his girlfriend is sitting on the couch. He like, oh, you moving out? I'm sorry to hear that. I've been using your Wi-Fi. And then his little girlfriend is like, how much is this couch? And then the next thing we see is the couch back in the apartment, and Issa's looking at it. She makes a call to Lawrence. She's like, look, you know, I'm moving. I have a box of your stuff, and I think that you should have the couch. You can pick it up Saturday. I won't be here between 2 and 6, so you don't have to worry about seeing me. Then it's Saturday. We see Issa in the car with her brother, and he is laying out the ground rules. No shoes in the house. She like, you ain't even got carpet. No shoes in the house, he says, and no Negroes in the house unless I'm dating them, unless I'm effing them. How long you gonna be? Because they pulling up at the dunes. And she like, I'm gonna be 10 minutes. You know, after they kind of go back and forth. And then we see Issa going into the dunes. We see her going up the steps. We see her going into the apartment for the last time. It's the same shot that we had of Lawrence going into the place. She opens the door. She looking around. She walking. And then Lawrence is there waiting. And he's like, you know, I didn't like the way we ended things. I feel like I'm effing everything up right now. And Issa's like, well, you came to the right place. And, you know, they laugh and they go in the little kitchenette. And Lawrence is like, you know, I'm sorry. I set up expectations. And, you know, I shut down because they didn't go the way that I wanted them to go. I'm sorry for not, you know, meeting your and my expectations. And Issa's like, I wanted to be better for you because of you. And I somehow started depending on you to be better for us both. And I didn't know how to handle what you were going through. And I could have done more. And I didn't know how to be better for us. And Lawrence is like, well, that makes two of us. And Issa's like, what I did, it was the worst thing that I could have done to you. It was not about you. I just want you to understand it was about me. I wish you could understand it. You have only ever loved me, and I wanted to be the best for you and from me, or from you and me, and blah 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 blah. And I promise, you know, that I still do want the best for you, and I wanted the best. I still want the best. I promise, I still do. Lawrence, I love you so much. And then Lawrence is like, I love you too. And then they hug. And then Lawrence is like, well, I should go. And he's leaving out the door. And then he turns around. This is like an echo of the first episode where he's leaving. Then he comes back. And then Lawrence is gets down on his knees. And he says, I can't imagine life without you. I don't want to lose you. Marry me. And then we see, you know, their life projected forward. We see them, you know, having sex and, you know, having a baby. And, you know, we realize at some point, oh, this is one of Issa's fantasies. And then it is in Issa's imagination. We see their life stretching out in front of them. And then we're at Molly's, and Issa and Molly are having a Morocco sleepover party type celebration. So they didn't go on the trip, but they kind of going on the trip. And then Molly, she got clothes and music and decorations and food. And, you know, so they have their little sleepover. Then it's the next day, and we get the montage of Issa leaving Molly. She's getting in the lift. Then we have Molly grinning at a message. Then we have Lawrence sending Issa a Facebook friend request. Then we have Molly trying on different lingerie in the mirror. Then we see Issa arriving someplace in her lift. Then we see Molly opening her door, all lingerie up to Dro. No! Or maybe yes. Maybe she realizes she can handle being in an open relationship, or she doing Dro and the other guy too. Because that scene we saw where we saw she was sexting somebody, but we didn't know who she was sexting. We don't know what the story is. So maybe, you know. Then we see Issa knocking on the door. Then Daniel opens it, and Issa's like, you know, I'm sleeping on the couch. And Daniel was like, oh, I know. And then that's the end of it. So their relationship, Issa and Daniel, almost seemed like her relationship with her brother. But I guess with the element of good sex. So that's it. The season finale. Oh, it's so sad. How long we gonna have to wait for Insecure? I'm insecure about not having Insecure next week. That's all I got. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're working on 200 subscribers. Thank you for being a subscriber, for becoming a subscriber, for watching, for liking, thumbs up, commenting down below, hitting the notifications button, enjoying today because it's the best day ever, and you are the greatest. You are fabulous. So be you, be fabulous, you. Peace.